The main agenda which we are waiting for, explanation from the first speaker, Dr. Nitin Muttil with Mr. Iwan Juwana, PhD as moderator. Well now, to Dr. Nitin Muttil, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you so much, Ibu Tuti, for the introduction. And I think we'll have to give some introduction about our session. So this session will be last for hopefully around 40-45 minutes. And we have already our guest lecturer, a guest speaker from Victoria University, Dr. Nitin Muttil. And Dr. Nitin is currently a lecturer in Victoria University in the College of Engineering and Science. And he was also my supervisor, so I'm very, very happy and be honored to have Nitin here because he been helping me so much during my study back then in Victoria University. So if I'm not mistaken, please correct me, Nitin. Before joining Victoria University in 2007, you work in the University of Singapore, National University of Singapore, and also University of Hong Kong. And now you are the leader of the water resources research group in Victoria University. And Dr. Nitin has already published lots of many international journals in international lots of papers in international journals, and also supervise many of postgraduate students. So I don't think I will have to talk a lot about you because your resume already talk a lot in the website and your paper. And today you're going to talk about a very interesting topic, which is the city of the Melbourne, which is I've been there and I'm so happy to going to listen to you about how the city going on, and then also the campus of Victoria University. I think that's my introduction, and then I believe you already ready with the presentation, so the screen is yours, Nitin.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much, Ivan, for that introduction. I have very fond memories of, working with Ivan as his supervisor, and Ivan gave a very good introduction, and I think I should say something similar about Ivan, one of our best PhD students. He had about 7 or 8 papers, and so great work, Ivan. Thanks for the good introduction. And good morning, everyone. And if anybody is anywhere other than Bandung in Indonesia, then good afternoon or good evening. It could be a different time. So in Australia, here in Melbourne, it is afternoon. And I can see there are some people from Australia, so good afternoon to them. I'm going to share. The topic which I'm going to talk is in line with the theme of the conference, which is green technology. And I'm going to focus on green infrastructure, green infrastructure. And the focus of my talk is to make cities more resilient. There are many issues which the cities of the future and current are facing, and there are strategies which need to be implemented to make the cities more resilient. And I'm going to talk about this. And I'm going to talk about how to make the cities more livable, in general. And the case study which I'm going to use is the city in which I live, which is Melbourne. Okay, so this is the outline of my presentation. Initially, I'll start with a brief introduction to the problem which cities are facing. Then I'll take directly the case study of the city of Melbourne and the way very well the city has taken up various green infrastructure initiatives. I'm going to talk about that. I'll talk about few case studies from Melbourne. And then I'll focus into one case study, which is my own university, which is Victoria University. And since last 2 years, this university, which I'm going to call VU, VU stands for Victoria University, has taken up various greening initiatives. I'm going to talk about that. And then I'll draw some conclusions. So that's my talk in brief. Now I'm going to be a bit quick with the introduction because, we all are living in cities and we know the problems which cities are facing. Now, that is an article which is taken from a newspaper. It's a newspaper clipping which talks about climate change, and one of the problems faced in cities is what's called the urban heat island effect. The temperatures are increasing. We got more heat waves, and as a consequence of that, what we see is the mortality rate increases during those days. People fall sick and so on. Another problem related to climate change is extreme events. We get extreme rainfall events, extreme storms, flash floods. So that's again newspaper clipping which talks about an extreme event in Melbourne, and a consequent flash flood. Another problem with cities is the degree of urbanization is increasing. And in fact, this picture is of Melbourne, and I'm sure cities in Indonesia and other places in the world, they have similar problems: urbanization, population increase, and the consequent problems which come with it. Now, I'm going to talk about one of the problems. What happens because of urbanization is, the problem of floods, because pre-urbanization, the land was impervious. So all the rainfall which fell on the land would go into the ground as infiltration. But with more cities, more urban areas coming up, the runoff very quickly runs off the concrete impervious surfaces, and the drainage system cannot cope with that increased runoff. So this case study, few pictures only, is about very severe floods which happened in the state of Queensland in Australia. This happened about 10 years back, 2011. So I'm just using some pictures to demonstrate the problem. So this picture is taken in September 2010. You can see the date, so September 2010. So it's about 3 months before the flooding happened. And then the next slide, which you will see, is taken in January 2011. And what you can see is the whole area is flooded. So what happened is there was extreme flood. The water came very quickly because of impervious areas, and it couldn't run off into the drainage system, and then it got flooded. Similarly, another picture, again taken from Queensland. I believe this is Brisbane, the capital city of Queensland. So that's a residential area. And on the left-hand side, you will see what's called a detention basin or a retention basin. It got different names. Now this extreme flooding, extreme rainfall event happened. And if you see the next picture, which I'm going to show you now, the purpose of the detention basin is to reduce flooding, because what happens is when the runoff comes from the residential urban areas, the impervious areas, the purpose of the detention basin is to store that runoff, keep it for some time, and then gradually release it into the water body, into the creeks and rivers. But this event was so strong, so extreme, that the drainage basin itself was gone, as you can see. So these things, extreme heat events, extreme floods, all these things are going to become more frequent in cities. So I'm using Melbourne and Australian cities, but that's the same in other cities around the world. So what's the solution? The solution is to use various green infrastructure. One of the solutions, of course, there are other solutions. What I'm going to focus on today is to use various green infrastructure practices. And this has got different names I have shown there. In some countries, like in Australia, it's called water sensitive urban design. Some other countries call it, low impact development and so on. So what green infrastructure does is it tries to take the urban area, the built up cities, to what it was before it was built up, which means the impervious areas, we try to make it more pervious. We try the rainfall which comes should infiltrate into the ground. So all those natural processes we try to bring back into the city. So that's the main purpose of green infrastructure. There are many types of green infrastructure, as you would know: rain gardens, wetlands, green roofs, and so on. And these are the benefits. We all know that, the more green we have, it's better for the city. It improves, rather mitigates the urban heat island effect. It improves the air quality. So green infrastructure is called the lungs of the city. It reduces the runoff because green infrastructure like rain gardens, green roof, they store the runoff. And therefore the quantity of runoff is reduced. It improves the quality of runoff because it acts as a filter medium. And of course, it has got many other health benefits. I'm going to talk about some examples of how green infrastructure has been taken up in Melbourne. This is a very, very small snapshot. I cannot talk about everything in the limited time, so I took some which I have been involved in. So a very small snapshot. I'll talk very briefly about what's called the greening the West strategy. And many councils in Melbourne has got many councils have taken up initiatives to make the whole area green. I'm going to take one example, which is the council called City of Melbourne, and talk about some of the initiatives taken by this council, City of Melbourne. Like, for example, I've written they got green roofs in the city, in the CBD of Melbourne, and the number of green roofs in the city is more than 100 now. And I'll talk about a few other examples of green infrastructure being taken up. One example which is coming up in Melbourne is a new hospital in the location where my campus, Victoria University Footscray campus, is. I'll talk about that hospital. So that's quick about green infrastructure case studies and examples taken in Melbourne. Now, Greening the West initiative is an initiative which is taken by a group of councils and water utility companies, like Greater Western Water, and a council which is where the campus is, the VU campus is what's called the Maribyrnong City Council. So not just these two, but other councils and water utilities, they have come together and they have taken up this initiative to plant greenery in the campus, to plant trees in Melbourne. And it says greening the West means, the suburbs which are on the west of Melbourne CBD. Melbourne has got a central business district, and there are many suburbs which are on the west side. There are many on the east, south, and so on. So this initiative is taken by those agencies, organizations which are dealing with the west of Melbourne, and therefore they call it Greening the West. So they had a phase one or a stage one of this strategy. Last 5 years, they implemented more than 1 million trees. So that's a big number. Only in the west of Melbourne, 1 million trees, as you can see. And very recently, they started their phase two or stage two of Greening the West strategy. So that's from 2020 to 2025. And a huge number of trees to be planted more in the west of Melbourne. It's not the complete Melbourne area, but only the western suburbs. So that's a very big initiative, and it's good, doing so much good to the, the whole environment and the community with so many trees. The council called the City of Melbourne, which is responsible for the CBD, has taken a lot of initiatives. I'm very quickly going to talk about some. They got a strategy which they call the urban forest strategy, where they try to plant trees in the CBD, in the central business district. They had another strategy a few years back, which they call Green Our Rooftop project, where many projects were funded to put green roofs on the roofs. They have another project where they try to map all the roofs in the city where there is a potential for green roof and solar panels. So there's a website, I've just taken a screenshot there, where they talk about mapping the rooftop program. And those green areas are those roofs which have potential for green roof. Many of them already have. And there are other roofs where they could have solar panels. and many other initiatives. These are some, very few of, what they have done. Now, this is a new hospital which is coming up right across our VU campus. The buildings which you see on the right-hand side of the screen are the campus buildings, the Victoria University campus buildings. And the building which you see, the big building which you see in the middle of the screen on the left of the main road is the new hospital, which is not yet constructed, but it's partially constructed. So this is an artist image. And in the 3 years, this hospital should be there. But the point I'm trying to say is, in the plan which they have for the hospital, there are so many green initiatives already built in. For example, right in the middle of the hospital, they have a green center, which they call the village green. So that's right in the middle. And the buildings are surrounding the village green. So people can, go and, visitors and, family members who need to wait can go to the village green and, relax in the green area. So that's one initiative. That's another artist's impression of the hospital. It's not there, as I said. And as you can see in the figure, in the picture, artist's impression, the roofs have all green roofs. It's all green, the roofs. And there are trees all around. So they have already planned for a lot of green infrastructure. And that's taken from the plan. So 80% tree canopy cover. That's for the roads and open areas. 100% green roof. So that's a very, 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 very powerful initiative. All the roofs where it's possible to have green roofs, they're going to have green roofs. So that's about some very few initiatives being taken in Melbourne. As I said, these are very small, a very small snapshot of what's being done. But, it's not possible to talk about everything in the limited time. Now I'm going to focus and come back on my campus, which is Victoria University's campus. And I'm going to talk about one campus, which is called the Footscray Park campus, where, the College of Engineering, our engineering department is there. So it's the Footscray Park campus. Recently, VU has taken initiatives to do a lot of greening on the campus. So I'm going to talk about some. One of them is a green roof. We have a urban farming site which is being developed. And I'm going to talk about the benefits of these, how these are going to be used, these are being used rather. And I'll also talk about some future initiatives. Now, about 1 year back, end of last year, we started this whole project to have a green roof on campus. And one of the first steps was to analyze all the buildings of our campus and select a suitable building where we could have a green roof. So, a detailed analysis was done. In fact, when we started, we had the option of green roof and green walls. So that's why you see some of the buildings are not roof, but walls. Okay. And then a detailed analysis was done. There are various factors, which I'm going to talk about very soon. Structural factors and so on. And after a detailed analysis, the roof which was selected is what in the next slide, what I'm going to call in the next slide is the building M roof. The picture in the bottom row, the second picture in the bottom row from left-hand side, you see M written there. So that's building M. And the roof of that building was selected. And the construction of the green roof started in December last year. So exactly 1 year back, actually. And one day before the construction started, I had been on the roof of that building. And I thought I should take a video before the green roof construction starts, because once the roof has a green roof, it's going to look very different. So I made a video 1 day before the construction started. That's in December, around the same date, 2nd or 3rd December. So that's 1 year back. And I made this 2-minute video on the roof talking about why we selected this particular roof or the green roof. And on the right-hand side, I have put some factors which I talk about in this video. So it has to be structurally safe. The roof needs to have waterproofing and so on. So I'm going to play this video. And then it's a very short, 1.5 to 2 minute video which talks about this. I thought I should play the video rather than myself talking. I'm on the roof of building M. This roof is not going to look the way it is in another 2 weeks' time because we'll have a green roof here. This roof was selected because it met all the requirements for a green roof. The most important requirement was the structural issue, whether this roof can take the weight of the green roof. We had a structural engineer who went through the drawings and then he approved the site. He said the site is okay, the roof is okay in terms of the weight loading. The other requirements was waterproofing, and this site met the requirements for layer below, so that was good. The green roof would also require drainage because it's going to be irrigated and the water needs drainage. We had a drainage pits right here, so there were a couple of them on this roof. So that was excellent in terms of drainage. And the other issue which was very, very important is the safety, because we have staff and students and visitors who will be on this site. This site had the safety railings, the guard railings all around, which was good in terms of accessing the roof safely. And the last requirement which we needed was it needed power, because we would have pumps required for the irrigation and so on. And this site had this power socket, which was excellent too. So this site met all the requirements we needed for the green roof, and that's why we selected this site. Okay, I think it was that day I went in the morning, it was about to rain and windy, as you can see. So I don't know you were able to hear, but I was talking that the most important consideration is structural, because the green roof will add extra weight to the roof, and whether the structure can take the weight of the green roof. And what we find was those pavements, the concrete, not pavements, sorry, the concrete pavers, which you see, they needed to be removed. And it so happened that the weight of the concrete pavers, the tiles, the big thick tiles, came out to be more than the weight of the green roof. So it did add, the green roof did not add any extra weight on the roof, and so on. So this roof met all the requirements. And then, by early January this year, 2021, this green roof was constructed. What do you see on the screen? This green roof also has a small water body. So that's on the roof. It's got a small water body so that, birds and so on can come and, drink water. So that's the green roof. And I'm going to play a short video again, which we made on the green roof. So it's an interesting video. So I thought we'll play that today.
Universities are a place of learning, teaching and education, and I believe university is the best place to have a green roof like this, which we can use for demonstration, not only to our students, but also to the community and visitors who come to the roof.
Well, this type of garden we're installing, which is known as an extensive green roof, are mainly used for reducing the amount of stormwater runoff that goes into our stormwater systems. Urban heat island effect is a big problem in cities, so this helps to cool the areas where the green roofs are. And there are also biological benefits for wildlife and opportunities for pollinators and insects as well. So the first stage was obviously to get rid of a big chunk of these concrete pavers. The next stage is to build a support layer for the green roof so we don't damage the waterproofing membrane, that sort of thing. Then we install drainage layers, irrigation, substrate for the plants to grow in, and then the plants themselves.
This green roof is going to be used by our students, both postgraduate and undergraduate, and we have one student who's going to look at the benefits of having a green roof in terms of thermal comfort. It's going to improve the water quality. The water which runs off the roof, the quality is going to be improved. And one student is going to look at that too.
Yes, so that was a good introduction to the green roof, and as I said about earlier, the CBD of Melbourne has more than 100 such green roofs. So you can imagine this is just one on the campus, but the CBD has so many more. And a city which has so many green roofs will have so many environmental and health benefits. And there are a few other sites on campus where we are implementing various other green infrastructure practices. Like, for example, here at this site, which we call the urban farming site, we have hydroponic systems. I don't know, hydroponic, but I won't go into the details of what is a hydroponic system. But you see on the wall, the picture on the left-hand side, one of our PhD students, he is going to do his research on that, and he was responsible for construction of this site, and he is explaining the hydroponic system here when we had a guided tour. So that's another site. This site is about 50% complete, and that's why I put the design plans here, not the actual pictures. And very soon it will be complete also. And I'm going to talk about research benefits of the green infrastructure which we have on campus. But first, I'm going to talk about various community engagement, education, and so on. So I'll just show some pictures, because we had few green roof tours, guided tours, where we had people, staff, community coming on campus, looking at the green roof, looking at the way it was constructed, what were the steps, what are the advantages, and so on. So that's a picture of a guided tour of the green roof, which we had in 2021. Another picture, where, we were discussing the benefits, and people had so many questions, and all those questions were discussed, answered. And I would like to say that, the response which we got from Victoria University staff and community was so very, overwhelming. People were so much interested. Many people wanted to volunteer to, take care of the garden and so on. So these are some of those pictures. We had few green roof visits from local schools, because, school, they came to know about the green roof, and they wanted to bring the school children. So that, so that's a green roof visit. I think this was grade 7, grade 8 students and they had so many questions to ask, discuss. And we had few other green roof, little big, children. So that's, if I remember, that's grade 11, grade 12 kids. So little grown up. So, and that's another picture taken at the green roof. Again, these are grown up kids, school kids. So we had 4 or 5 green roof visits from schools. And I would like to say that all these visits happened in between the lockdowns. Melbourne had, few lockdowns, and we had to, schedule the visits in between the lockdowns. So that's a lot of work done towards, educating the community, and engagement and so on. Now I'm going to talk about one of the main uses which we'll do with these green infrastructure, green roofs and so on, is to use it for research for our students to work on. And I'm going to talk about few research projects now. One of the things which we implemented of the green roof is to have an irrigation system which is based on sensors. So nobody has to manually go, because with such infrastructure, maintenance is an issue. Maintenance can be a big issue, and if regularly, irrigation is not done, the plants could dry. But here we put a sensor-based irrigation system which irrigates the garden 2 or 3 times, so that is fixed. And the irrigation will automatically cut itself off if there is rainfall. In fact, we could set the amount of rainfall, and we had set it to 3 millimeters. So if the rainfall exceeds 3 millimeters, the irrigation would stop. So this picture was taken about 2 weeks back when I had visited the green roof, and I had visited after many months. So many months nobody had been on the roof because of the lockdown, but the plants were doing quite well. Why? Because we had this, digital sensor-based irrigation system. And I'm going to talk about a few projects which are taking place now. One of the students, our PhD postgrad students, he is looking at the impact of such green infrastructure on urban cooling. So that deals with what's called, mitigating the urban heat island effect, which I'm sure you know. What it means is the cities are hotter than the surrounding rural areas. And, that's not good for the people who work and stay in urban areas. So such green infrastructure would make the urban areas cooler, and it would improve, what's called the thermal comfort. And this student is going to quantify what's the improvement because of green infrastructure. There are students who are going to look at water quality improvement, and water quality and what are the various factors of the green roof which lead to improvement in quality. So some factors could be the depth of the substrate, the material of the substrate, the area of the green roof, and so on. And also a student will look at the impact of green roof reducing the runoff. And if the runoff is reduced, what's the biggest impact? The risk of flood gets reduced, flash floods, which we saw in the beginning. Another student is going to look at use of digital technologies, sensors to monitor the wildlife which comes on the green infrastructure. I'm going to show you some pictures. Like, for example, this picture was taken on the roof, and we had these birds coming. They were butterflies, bees. And what this project deals with, the last one, which I'm talking about digital monitoring, is very soon we will have sensors on the roof which are going to record the sounds of the birds. And then it will go to a database of all possible, maybe 300, 400 different birds and their, what's called the bird call. And we will compare the recorded sound from the roof with the database. And then it will try to identify which birds are visiting the roof. So it's a technology would be used to monitor the wildlife which comes on the roof. And, the two pictures on the left are the weather stations, which we have on the site, which will be used for research. So, parameters like temperature, relative humidity, and so on will be. And the sensors which you see on the right-hand side are, in fact, sensors which will measure the temperature inside the soil in the substrate of the green roof. These have been purchased, but this has not been put yet. Very soon it will be there. And then we can analyze the reduction in temperature because of the green roof inside the buildings. I think in the interest of time, I didn't keep it too long. I'll be finishing. So in conclusion, green infrastructure, I believe, is very, very important for cities. Any city where its population is increasing, urban area is expanding. And why? Because it makes the city resilient to problems like climate change. It makes it more livable for the population, the community. So I'm very very pleased and proud to tell that Melbourne has taken up various greening initiatives in a very big way, very enthusiastically, different councils, community, and so on. So it's very, very good for the city. And lastly, I talked about our campus, Victoria University's campus, which again, various staff and groups have taken up greening initiatives. So what I call naturizing the campus, bringing more nature into the campus. And we are also looking at, as we saw some examples, of digitalizing the campus, where we put digital technologies, artificial intelligence, sensors, and so on, to, to improve the livability and to do research. So I think that's my talk for today. And thank you very much for listening. And I'm happy to answer any questions anybody may have.
Thank you so much, Nitin. Just beautiful, just great. I mean, congratulations to you, to Victoria University, to the city of Maribyrnong, Melbourne. I mean, you've been doing great things to our city, our place, our campus. So I just be very, very happy to listen and to hear your presentation. And you just brighten up my day. I mean, and also the days of all the participants here. I believe they're very curious to know more. I do have, I think, maybe hundreds of questions, but I will limit myself not to ask questions because that's my job. That's not my job now. I will ask maybe later personally to you. But just for you to know that I think we have lots of people here from students, alumni, and also the expert what air quality, for example, Dr. Yudin, some our colleagues from the informatics technology. So I think they will be also curious and want to know more about what you've been doing there. And also we have your previous student, Lenny. You still remember Lenny? I think she's in the room as well.
Oh, really?
Arik
Okay,
also will be joining. So I think
that's
she also have
wonderful.
some questions. Yeah, that's great. That's great, Nitin. So without further explanation from me, words from me, so I invite everyone to ask questions, to give comments and opinions. So please, anyone.
Dr. Iwan, I think I have a question.
Sure,
Yeah. Please.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Nitin, for very impressive presentation. Just would like to ask whether there is a low carbon policies implementation in Melbourne, and how do the government measure the achievement actually of those policies actually? Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Good question. Yes, there is a low carbon initiative which is being taken in Melbourne, and various organizations have been asked to make targets to reach, for example, zero carbon and beyond zero carbon, carbon negative, and different organizations have different targets. Like, for example, my university, Victoria University, has targeted 2025 to become zero carbon. And different initiatives being taken. Like, for example, I will give you some are with regard to transportation. For example, staff are encouraged to not drive to campus but use public transport, car sharing and so on. There are initiatives like what I talked about today, greening the campus. There is a lot of effort being going on campus to reduce the waste, plastic waste, minimizing single-use waste of plastic. There is initiative to use stormwater, rainwater and stormwater on campus. And already we have a big rain tank, which takes water from the roof, but that's only for one building. And I'm sure with the plan for 2025 zero carbon strategy, more such initiatives would happen. And I think you also asked, how do we measure that? I think there is an organization, central organization in Australia, which regulates different agencies, and it gives the certificate of carbon neutrality to different agencies. So organizations need to apply to them with all their data calculations of what they are doing and how much is the reduction in carbon dioxide emissions and so on. And when they apply, they have to, and then their application is assessed, and then the certificate is given. So there are, I know some organizations which already have received, zero carbon certificate in Australia. And I'm sure going into the future, there'll be many more. Is that answering your question?
Yes, thank you so much. Very impressive.
Yeah, thank you. Good question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Didin. Okay, anyone, maybe one or two more questions? Because like you said, Nitin, we don't have much time to discuss in a very long talk, but I really want to.
Iwan?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I have a question for Mr. Nitin.
Yes,
Yes,
Baik,
please.
Okay, thank you. Nice to meet you, Mr. Nitin.
Yeah, thank you.
My name is Baik Mardianti, alumnus in Environmental Engineering, ITENAS. Thank you for the very inspiring and motivating presentation today. I'm curious about, can you share with us how the collaboration and division of roles are carried on your campus in realizing the sustainable campus? Yeah, how the collaboration are carried
Yeah,
in your campus?
definitely. Very good question. Collaboration. Now,
Yeah.
the way collaboration is being carried out is there is a central team in the university which is responsible for, all these sustainability initiatives. It's called the Zero Carbon Initiative, and I don't remember the exact name, but that's the purpose. And, different groups like my group, the water group, and different groups need to provide information to the central group about what we are doing in terms of greening, and then they take that and then they calculate the CO2 emission reduction and so on. So that's how a central team manages everything. And different groups within the university do research on this, and we have collaboration between groups on green infrastructure. Like even the green roof, I was responsible, but it was not only me. There were other staff from other groups other than engineering who were involved. So it's not just engineering. There were 3 or 4 staff. There were 2 from engineering, and there was 1 from another discipline called built environment. So collaboration there. So like that, within the university, there is a lot of collaboration happening. There are projects within the university which are funded from external agencies. Like one project is looking at the use of plastics, like, coffee cups and so on, for, if I remember from memory, it's not one of my colleagues works on that, for packaging. Another project is looking at the use of plastics in road pavements, for example. And some of these projects are funded from external agencies. So that's collaboration with, not within VU, but within the university, but with external agencies, funding agencies. And I believe there are some collaboration which is happening between universities also in these projects. So there are different levels of collaboration within university, between universities, and with external funding agencies also. So different levels. Is that answering your question?
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Nitin.
Very nice, thank you.
Thank you, Nitin, for the answer, and Baik for the question. Baik was one of our best students, Nitin. She graduated, I think, a few years back, and now she is undertaking master degree, I believe, in Bogor, in IPB. So nice that she's still in touch with us, Baik. Yeah, so maybe, I think I will ask the committee to give me a little bit more time. I want to maybe allow one more participant maybe to ask question.
Yep, I'm happy to answer.
Maleni, please, you want to just maybe say hello to Nitin?
Yes, definitely. I mean, I don't see the screen, but I'll be more than happy to say hello to Marlene.
Hi, Nitin.
We can hear the voice here.
Oh, yes, I can see now. Yes, good.
Nice to meet you in this forum.
Yes, good to see you. Yes.
Maybe I want to ask one question. Is that possible?
Yes, please.
Sure, Maleni, yeah, please.
Sure. So this is what I found so far, that the retrofitting is always a problem in Indonesia.
Yes.
Implementing a new things in an older system, it's something that it's quite challenging. So maybe do you have any studies that maybe about cost comparisons, or maybe about LCA or LCC, the life cycles assessments, and also life cycle costs about this green infrastructure, so we can really see that implementing these systems, particularly in the older system, will still give us a benefits because for some people, they think that implementing this, they will not have any advantage so far. So I think we need to give them like an insight that it will give us an advantage, but how long it will take and how much it will give us an advantage. So I think that's all my questions. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I think very nice point. You are very right that, retrofitting such, initiatives, green roofs and so on, green walls is always a problem, and I know in the government, in Australia, in Victoria also, there is discussion going on about making green infrastructure as part of the policy. It's done in many cities around the world. I can name some, like, for example, in Germany, in some cities in Canada and US, there is a policy that if there's a new building coming up, some percentage of that building, I don't remember the number, it varies from city to city, 25%, 20% of the green roof, of the roof has to be green roof. So that's part of policy. So they have to do it. And in Victoria, Australia also, I know that the government, in government circles, this discussion is going on. A lot of input has been given by academia, universities and so on for this. And the reason is, as you said, retrofitting is a problem. Even this green roof, which we built in our campus last year, so much analysis had to be done before we started. So we had to look at, because we were retrofitting, so whether the structure would be safe, waterproofing, because we don't want leaks happening in the roof later. So a lot of analysis, we had to bring structural engineer who assessed the roof. He gave a certificate for structural safety, waterproofing safety, and then we could start the construction. So yes, retrofitting has its own problems, but to avoid that in new construction, new developments, there has to be policy. And, in Melbourne and other cities in Australia, because green infrastructure has become such a big thing, a lot of discussion is happening in the government circles, councils, to have this regulation, a policy, which, says that green infrastructure should be part of new construction. Yes. Is that a satisfactory answer, Lenny?
Yeah, I think it's a good point, actually. I mean, making it as a regulation, I think it's one way to insist people to start implementing. Maybe, yes. But if you have maybe any reference that it's about the LCC, maybe the life cycle cost of this kind of green infrastructures, I think it will be great too. I mean, like to give like insight to people in the government and also people that want to adopt these systems. If we can give them knowledge that it will give them a benefit, I think it will.
Yes, definitely. These our students and many other studies, not many, I won't say many, but there are a few other studies which try to quantify the benefits, so that, in general, we know, air pollution will reduce and runoff will reduce and so, but how much? If we can quantify and show the benefit to government and community and so on, then, the uptake of green infrastructure is going to be more easier. So your point is, right on target. Yes, agree.
Thank you, Nitin. It's very insightful. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Malini. Thank you, Nitin. I think I have one question from my side. I'm not going to ask the floor again to raise question, because I believe the committee already give me some sign to stop, but I just will be responsible for the time that is taken, because I cannot just hold myself to give one question. Like I said before, I have hundreds of questions. I have to choose one of the best of those 100 questions. So my question, Nitin, do you or your university view has a plan to help other campus from countries like Indonesia to help the campus become more green? Because our campus is a small campus and we are starting to be green, but still a long way to go. So is any plan from you to like helping or collaborate with smaller university?
There is no plan as of now, but it's a very good idea to have such collaboration. It is very good idea because, you know, even the green infrastructure in Melbourne is not, you know, very dating back. I would say maximum 10 years. You know, before 10 years, nobody talked about green infrastructure. So in the last decade, a lot of initiatives, a lot of discussion happening. And in universities, it is maybe 3, 4, 5 years maximum. And at Victoria University, I would say 2 years.
Okay.
And yes, you know, last 2 years, we have done quite a bit on, you know, sustainability, what we call at the university planetary health, a big initiative happening all across the campus, planetary health. And it's still, you know, within the university, between local universities and local councils. But I am very open to have, you know, international collaboration with universities like your university, National Institute of Technology, Bandung. And yes, you know, open to that. Let's get this discussion going.
Sure. Thank you, Nitin. I'll be in touch for sure. And I think my colleagues and leaders here all will be very, very happy to see that if this work can go on in the future. So I, again, thank you so much for your presence here. And then we'll be love to having you here in person, maybe in the coming years.
Yes,
not
definitely.
virtually. So yes, hopefully it will be happening in the near future. So I think I have to stop here, Nitin. Unfortunately, I still want to talk about a lot of things with you, but like you said, the time is very limited, so I have to stop. Again, thank you. And I think I want to welcome and invite everyone to unmute yourself and say thank you to Dr. Nitin. Is that possible for everyone?
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
It
Nitin,
was
again.
my pleasure and honor to present here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nitin. So I'll see you next time.
Yeah, sure. Bye.
Okay, bye.